Coach John here. In this video, we're going to look at how to take body circumference measurements by yourself with a measuring tape. We're going to look at 6 measurements in particular: the upper arm, forearm, waist, hips, thigh, and calf. Before we actually get into the measurements, there's 3 important points to keep in mind. Number 1, always perform your measurements against the skin. Number 2, when taking your measurements, don't apply so much pressure that you are causing an indentation in the skin. For obvious reasons. You will really skew your measurements if you put too much pressure on the measuring tape. Number 3, be consistent with how you take your measurements. That means try and take them at the same time of day. Try and take them same time of day, the exact same location. If you tensed your muscle for a measurement, make note of that. Certain measurements, you could take your measurement with in a tense position or relaxed. Up to you, or do both. Okay, so let's start with the upper arm. The upper arm, you're going to hold your arm parallel to the floor. I'm going to take the one side, I'm going to drape it on the outside of my arm, just like so. And then I'm going to grab it with my left hand and pull it around like that. So it's going to look like that. And then I'm basically just going to read to the closest ½ inch or centimeter, whatever units you're using for your measurements. With the upper arm, you're measuring the widest part. A mirror is very useful when doing measurements by yourself. So if you want to check if you're measuring the widest part, I can look in the mirror. Oh, maybe I'm not quite on the widest part, so I'll just adjust it a little bit. So that's the upper arm measurement. Forearm measurement by yourself, basically do it the same way. Hold your forearm parallel to the floor, tape on the outside, measure the widest part, and you can just hold it like this. This would be relaxed forearm measurement, for example. If I was doing a tensed one, I would flex my wrist and tense my forearm as much as possible. Okay, now with the waist measurement, there's a couple different ways of doing the waist measurement. You can look at the narrowest point of your waist and simply measure that. A mirror, again, is helpful. So find the narrowest point. Basically, breathe in, exhale, and take my measurement. Just like that. If you don't have a narrow point, if you don't have a narrow reference point, then we can use something called a landmark or a point of reference. So the landmark for the waist measurement would be the top of your hip bone, which is right here. So to be consistent with your results every time, or you're measuring every time, find the top of your hip bone. You could make a little line there, but if you're measuring yourself, it might be difficult to kind of see this. So if someone else is measuring you, they would make a line right there, and then they would hold the measuring tape with the bottom edge of the tape just touching that line. And they would do that every single time they did your waist measurement. If you're doing it by yourself, simply find the top of your hip bone. You kind of know it's right there. And I'm going to measure at that point. It's a little more awkward doing it that way. if you have a mirror, you could simply find this point and potentially take a pen, mark it, and using the mirror, line yourself up so the bottom edge of the tape is in line with that. You don't have to do it from the top of the hip bone, but it can help get you in the proper spot so that you're consistent every time. So that's the waist. So you could do the narrowest point. You could reference from the top of the hip bone and have the measuring tape, the bottom edge of the tape just above the hip bone. And that basically covers the waist. Hips, you're taking the widest part, so where your bum sticks out the most. Again, a mirror is useful here. I'm going to look at the mirror from the side, wrap around, and there's my waist, or my hip measurement. For the thigh, there's a couple different ways of doing this. Typically the thigh measurement is taken where the thigh meets your bum, so that'd be the widest point of your thigh. So standing up, once again, I'd wrap it around, come up just up underneath where my bum comes into my thigh, and take my measurement there, just like that. If you find this awkward to do it by yourself, or you actually don't have that reference point where the muscles come together, another way of doing this is sitting down. So you could sit down, measure from your hip bone, this crease here, but you'll feel your bone. And if you simply measure out a certain distance and use that distance every single time, then you will end up having fairly reliable results. So for instance, for me, you could measure out 3 inches, 4 inches, 5 inches. It doesn't really matter. We're simply measuring how much the circumference of your leg. So if you're losing fat, the fat is going to basically disappear from you overall. So you're just measuring the changes. So whether it's this part of your thigh, that part of your thigh, that part of your thigh, that part of your thigh, it doesn't really matter too much. If you want to measure your thigh specifically to compare the size of your thigh to another bodybuilder, for instance, and if the standardized place to measure from is where your glutes meet your hamstrings, then yeah, take it up where your bum is. But if you're just looking to see what your fat loss, what's happening with fat loss and just general changes in that area, and you just want to see if you're actually making progress there, the specific location doesn't matter too much. So the main thing is that you just do it the same way. So measure out, make a line, put the measuring tape so the bottom edge is the edge of the tape closest to you is right against the line, and take your measurement. It can be that simple. Calf, you're measuring the largest diameter. So I'm going to find the largest diameter. A mirror can be helpful. See where your calf sticks out the most, wrap it around, and take your measurement just like that. So I hope that helped. Just remember to be consistent, and you should be pretty good to go. So if that helped, please let me know. If you have any questions or comments, I'd be happy to hear them. And please like this video if you liked it, and share it if you think someone else could benefit from it. Thanks for watching.